Okay, we are live.
Good evening and welcome to the Finance and Claims Committee of the Common Council for today, Thursday, October 14th at 7:02 p.m. Like to start the meeting with the roll call of the Finance and Claims Committee members. Council Member David Hooverman.
Present.
Council Member Tom Keegan.
Here.
Council Member Nick Sacchinelli.
Present.
Council Member Diana Revolus.
Here.
Council Member John Kides.
Here.
Council Member George Theodoridis.
Here.
And Council Member Greg Burnett. So all members are in attendance, so we have a quorum. Item 3, and let me just bring up the agenda. Here we go. Item 3 is public participation. We did not receive any emails related to any items on the agenda for tonight. Larry, do we have anyone that has dialed in that wishes to speak?
I do not see anyone. I just see one person on. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand electronically now. I just see Nancy.
Okay.
And
Is
no
there any-
one, no one with the hand raised.
Okay, good. So we will close public participation and move on to item 4, which is approval of the minutes from the September 9th regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Council Member Tom Keegan, thank you. Let me stop sharing. And so with that, are there any additions, changes, deletions to the minutes? I had one on page 2 where the middle of the page under the motion to approve the minutes from August 12th lists 4 in favor: Hooverman, Keegan, Kides, and Revolus, and myself. So it should be 5. And then we had 1 abstention, Sacchinelli. So that was the only correction I saw in the minutes. So with that, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes with the necessary corrections, please show by a raise of hand. And
Aye.
John Kides is aye. George, assuming you you can lower your hand. And George, are you approving or abstaining or?
I abstain.
Okay, so George Theodoridis is abstaining, so the minutes are approved. That moves us on to items 5, 6, and 7, which is the Claims Committee report dated for October 14th, the narrative on tax collection dated October 14th, and the monthly tax collectors report dated September 21st. So our esteemed tax collector, Lisa B., you're up.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and I'll share my screen to show your report.
Thank you. Good evening. We do have for your claims this evening, we do have one special request, which does require a vote due to the fact that it's in excess of $10,000. It was a duplicate payment. The individual's tax bill just happens to be in excess of $10,000. So it has to go back to their mortgage servicer who made the payment. The other amounts on the claims report are less than $10,000, and it's mostly just standard refunds this time of year. We do try to get caught up on things like motor vehicle credits. That's what most of our refunds are. Leasing company credits and things of that nature. So I don't know if you want to do the vote on that first, or if you want me to launch into the narrative, you tell me.
We should handle this item separately, so you're saying we did have, is it on this report? Is it
It is,
listed?
it's on, after the real estate accounts. I want to say it's about halfway through. $0.43.
Hmm.
I think you're getting to it.
Oh, after the real estate.
Yep,
Okay,
it's right there.
okay, great.
It's on-
So with that, for the Claims Committee report, is there a motion to approve the Claims Committee report dated for October 14th, 2021?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Hooverman. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, show by the raise of hand.
Aye.
All those, aye, and all those opposed? Any abstentions? The claims report is approved, and we will move it on to the next common council meeting for full council approval on Tuesday, October 26th.
Thank you. Thank you. So moving to the next item, the spreadsheet for the month of September through the end of September, which is through our first quarter, July, August, and September. We had a percent and 50.47% against our sewer levy. It's very
Lisa, your audio is cutting out.
Is it
Lisa?
any better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I seem to be having trouble with it. I don't know why. I apologize. But this is the last year, because last year we had the extension and we had given a deferred, an extended grace period until the 1st of October. So we're where we need to be right now. But
You're still cutting out, Lisa. We're hearing kind of every other word.
okay. What should I do? Should I try to call in or?
Yeah, if you call into the phone number and mute your computer, you should be fine. Mute your voice on your computer.
Hold on.
Do you have the number?
One more, let me give it one more shot.
Okay, we can hear you fine right now.
All right, let me just give it that one more shot then. What I was saying was it's hard to compare this year to last year due to the extended grace period last year. So once we get through the month of October of this year, because last year, October 1st was the last day to pay. So many, many individuals took advantage of that extension and didn't pay until October. It's really kind of comparing apples to oranges. So be that as it may, that's a little bit why we're showing 3.52% ahead of where we were last year. It really isn't a very meaningful number. But we are doing pretty well for September to be at 53, almost 54% of the current levy. There were no major issues. We sent our delinquent notices in the month of September. We gave a pay by date of September 30th. We did have a significant amount of activity due to that, but also because of the tax sale, which is really what I'd like to spend just a moment to speak about that, because the next time I see you will be after the sale. The sale is Monday, October 18th, this coming Monday. We're going to close our office at 2 p.m. so that we can move our operations down to the concert hall, and we will be conducting the sale in there. We'll start registering bidders at 3. We'll read the rules at 4, and the sale begins at 5. And you might recall that when we started the tax sale in November of 2019, we had 248 properties in the sale. And now we're a couple days before the sale. When I wrote this report, we had 30 left. We now have 20 left. We do expect a couple more perhaps to come in tomorrow. And we'll do all our paperwork over the weekend to prepare for bidding and so forth. But I think I had tried to predict that we would be left with between a dozen and 20, and that's right where we are. That is typical for our sales, to be left with about that many properties. It still may end up being a long night. We have some individuals from other departments who are coming to help us work at the sale because there's only 7 of us. So a couple folks from Chitsame Lamb's office are coming, and a couple from the assessor's office are coming. And we should be able to handle it that way, but it is open to the public. So any individual is welcome to come. We've spoken with Deanna Demore about physical distancing and other protocols due to COVID-19. Everybody will be masked. And we will be trying to maintain distance, particularly among the people in the concert hall, in the audience they're sitting, so that they can be distant from one another, perhaps every other row seated. But that venue has been used. The symphony is using it this weekend. So it has been in use. We feel comfortable being able to conduct the sale in there. So it should be okay. It should be okay. I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'd be glad to entertain your questions about the sale, but I might have forgotten to give you the total. We're already up to $7.6 million collected on the sale. This was our most ambitious sale, the longest sale because of that extra time period involved. But we typically collect around 5-point-something million, and we're up to 7.6 with this one. So it has been successful in its intention, which was to compel payment. The tax sale is never intended to necessarily transfer ownership of property from one individual to the other. The point of the sale is to compel payment of back taxes. And if we had a sale where we never actually had to sell a single property, it would be considered a success.
Did you want to pause now to see if there were any questions on the sale, or did you want to continue with the narrative?
That was pretty much the extent of the narrative. I'm sorry. After I get tax sale out of my head, we will start working on the second installment billing. Sometime in the month of November, we'll be coordinating with the Office of the Assessor to we also issue an entire second installment, not just motor vehicle supplemental bills, but everything where there's a second installment for real estate or any other tax, we do a second billing. Those bills typically get run right around Thanksgiving time, and they go in the mail around the 10th of December. And if we are able to stick to that calendar, I will be pleased. It all depends on how things are going next door. So I defer to them. But I'll have more information on that when I speak to you in the middle of November. But right now, we're just kind of watching and waiting.
Yes, Councilmember Hooverman.
Thank you, Chairman Burnett. Lisa, quick question. How's the staff hunting going? I know you guys are short-staffed, and I know you've been looking. I'm just wondering what the status is on that.
Thank you for asking. We did do interviews, and we asked the personnel department to make a job offer to a candidate. And we are in a holding pattern with that, but they have been notified the choice that we made, and we're waiting to hear back from the HR department on how that's going to go.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We're anxious to get that person on board because we've been short since February of 2020. So,
yeah, I'm sure you are. That's good news.
Yeah, it's great news. Thank you.
If I could, I would just echo and confirm Lisa's point from the big picture. As you may recall, since March of 2020, about 18 months ago, Lisa and I have been monitoring actual cash collections on a week-by-week basis. because we were so concerned about the impact of COVID. So we're now 83 weeks in, and our collections are up by 28 million for the prior 18-month period, which is a 5.2% increase. So it includes monies that came in from tax sale properties. And as we expected, the value of homes in Norwalk was very high. The amount of taxes assessed at 23 mills or such is small, and most owners will eventually pay their taxes. So the collections have held up throughout this period, and it's a testament to Lisa and her department keeping through all the way through COVID until they get the full complement of people. But it's also congratulations to the citizens who honor their obligations and pay their taxes.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, Henry.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions or comments related to the narrative or the monthly tax collectors report, which are both for information only at this time? Okay, hearing, seeing none, we'll we'll include that information as information only for the full council on Tuesday, October 26th.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, which is to receive the Oak Hills Authority monthly financial statement for August 2021. And we have Carl Dickens, the vice chair on the call. Carl, I'll bring up your report as you prepare.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. I want to just say real quickly that Mr. Androsco and Mr. De Palma have been doing a great job as we went through our reassignments for the coming year as officers. And both are busy this evening. In fact, I believe Mr. De Palma's in the air right now, flying back from business meetings in Orlando today, I believe. So I thought I would keep this short and sweet. In the past, I used to do a PowerPoint for you, but I thought you might appreciate this, and we'll just boil it down to this right now. So as you can see, it's a lot of good news that's on this. We've made repayments to the city regards our debt of over $134,000 since we resumed paying our bill. And that includes $9,000, as you see that it was just paid this last week for the September rounds. We ended the month of September with $644,000 in the bank. So we've come a long way from when we reopened after the COVID started, which was, I think we had about somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2,400 in the bank. So congratulations to the board and to everybody that works at Oak Hills, who's done a phenomenal job. The September revenue rounds were 4,524, which is 7% under budget. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is all the rain that we've all suffered, which is, good or bad, depending on how you look at it. But I unfortunately, I know we had a lot of citizens that dealt with too much water with flooding and that sort of thing. Year to date, the net operating income through August is $239,000, which is $24,000 or 11% over budget, thanks to our cart path lease being reclassified as a capital lease on the balance sheet versus an operating lease in the P&L as in years past. We've had aeration of the greens took place this week. So we were playing with only 9 holes available on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll keep some golfers away. So that drops down, our clientele a little bit for a couple of days, and for a week or two. The cart path paving that we've been trying to do for years is starting now, and it's going to continue throughout the month, which will be a major capital improvement for us at around I believe it's around $128,000. So we'll have continuous cart paths. We had a little hiccup during the last storm that came through because the rain and the water came down the hill so much on the 6th fairway and the path that crosses just in front of the green. Water got under there and literally huge chunks of asphalt went down the fairway. So we had to spend a little money in emergency repairs to get that going. Other than that, everything is going very well right now. And, we'll be starting to come into the part of the season where there are people that play golf year round. I'm not one of them. But some will start to slow. And then we'll pick back up, right after January. So everything is going in the right direction and doing well. I know that you probably have an anticipated question, and I'll go ahead and do that. Probably shouldn't, but I am, about where do we stand on the restaurant? If you you can go ahead and still ask it, David, if you want, but I don't want to jump anybody's gun here.
No,
But,
that's okay, Carl. I think you knew it was coming.
Sure.
So Paul, where do we stand on the restaurant?
Very good, Mr. Chairman. I was waiting for that question. It's been an interesting process since we changed the way we were doing things. We found that there was somewhat more repairs, particularly in the kitchen area and the halfway house, that we needed to do that we weren't aware of. There was a supply chain breakdown on getting goods, workers, and everything else, just like every company is experiencing right now. And we have decided, or we went forward, and maybe you're aware of this or not, and you get a chance just to drive up there and look, and of course you'll all be invited when we have the grand opening. The place is beautiful. I mean, it really is a gorgeous restaurant area right now. Unfortunately, we found out after the bar was built that there is a zoning, I think it's section 703 or something like that, that was really specifically put in for the golf course. And I think there's some others. It has a geography outline to it that goes down Washington Street and something else, that bars, certain type bars, and full service restaurant type bars, the bar itself can only be 19 feet long. Our error, we missed it by 6 feet. So we were 6 feet over, 5 to 6 feet over the length of it. So that's necessitated us working, and they've been very helpful, by the way, with the zoning commission and planning to allow us to make an amendment. And it's a one-word change in the ordinance to allow Oak Hills to have that extended bar length, which also works out well as COVID continues to be around, because it gives us more area to make everybody 6 feet apart, sit at the bar comfortably, and not really lose any business, so to speak. We have a hearing that there's been 2 hearings this week with the commission. That's gone very well, and we've received a lot of support and backing us on it. And we've received and notified all of the neighbors in and around the golf course. And now they'll be contacted again for a public hearing that I think is due to take place on the 4th of November. And if that gets passed, and we see no reason why it will not, then keep all your fingers crossed. The idea is to open the restaurant up the following Friday, that we plan on, then a week later from that 4th meeting to open up. And then we'll be good to go, and everything will start running.
Great, thank you for that update, Carl. And I'm assuming all of the other logistical issues have been resolved. I know last month it was reported some refrigeration equipment
Yes.
issues, all that's been resolved.
Yeah, everything's been resolved. We have all of our permits and everything else that need to be signed off on. The last thing is the certificate of occupancy, which will occur after we get that zoning change.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
One other question that I had, we still have a few more months before we go into the winter months, but
Mhm.
looking at your balance and with your cash on hand, are you definitely in a better position from a burn rate to get through the winter? So how are things looking from that standpoint?
Great question. As you all know, we have every year a loan that we have that sits there. That's $250,000. In the past, we've had to dip into that very early, and so we can pay staff and that sort of thing. Right now, we just looked through that the other day. We don't anticipate that we'll have to touch that line of credit at all. If we do, it wouldn't occur until maybe January, but I don't think we'll have to do it then because we're working very hard to be able to take the cash we have on hand and pay our employees and pay everybody up through the time when we start earning money again, real money, in February and March. So, that was one of the goals we had when we first joined the board and took over as chairman and that sort of thing. And everybody's done a great job of keeping that way, is being able to not touch that line of credit. And right now, fingers crossed, no. And we'll be able to stay open and pay our bills, pay you guys and pay the employees. And we think that after we do that, sometime late January, February, take a look at it, we'll probably still have somewhere on the bank account, 2.25, 200,000, 225,000, something like that. Hi, John. Yes.
Hey, Carl, quick question. That's great. That's good news. But I do remember the authority drew down on that line of credit every year. It was just almost routine. What's changed since then and now?
Well, really the way we run the business and how everybody has run the business since we got reopened from COVID. We've had tremendous play. All golf courses around the country has really seen an explosion in golf because it's the thing you can do outside. And so the rounds are up. We've got a lot of rounds from neighboring communities, and we've also increased a lot of rounds this year from across the Sound. There's a lot of Long Island people coming over here to play golf.
Well,
And we've also had an increase in people that belong to private country clubs playing as well, because the country clubs really smack down on the membership of if they wouldn't allow you to bring, if I want to take Mr. Keegan with me or you, John, with me to go play golf, they won't, if I'm part of a private club, they wouldn't let you in. And if they did let you in, they charged a ton of money. So we became a very, very viable alternative for a lot of those players seeking a place to play. So rounds are up, money management's up. The pricing that we did for this coming year, which we will start taking a look at pricing for next year and within the next month or so, because we'll have to have a public hearing. I think we do it sometime in December to get approval for rates and that sort of thing. So it's been good. And of course, we're, of course, as I mentioned, we're open year round, so there's not a closing date. And if the weather stays good through the rest of this month, which I hope it does in November, I don't anticipate that our rounds will fall off. So we'll still be making money and having money. They'll go down some, but they won't precipitously drop off the way they have in the past. And we'll be able to still maintain our cash flow and be able to pay our really great employees and grounds crews and everybody and keep the place open and going forward.
That's great, Carl. I mean, you've been around long enough to know and to remember where, just the fear of the credit line running out and what we're going to do. I mean, that was just, like I said, that was the routine, and what a great shift change to have it go from that to this. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, and
Thank
an
you.
asterisk to that is that, I always started biting my nails because in order to qualify for the line of credit the following year, you had to have what you had borrowed in the year you're in completely paid off by November. And that was always, a push and a struggle to do that. I believe this year, when that 250 was hit, when we had to close, as most small businesses were hit with things, we had paid back the line of credit by April. And that was fabulous. No later than just before the end of the fiscal year. So yes, I'm ecstatic about that.
Great. Thanks, Carl. Be well.
You too. You too. Yep. So I'm done and I appreciate it. I appreciate all your help and support. And with that, I will disappear and everybody else, please stay healthy and safe and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. So, good
Thank
night,
you, Paul.
everyone.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you,
and
Paul.
For
the
those
update.
for those of you who in 3 weeks will be sweating out another night or whatever it may be, good luck to everybody. So,
Okay, great, thank you.
all
Much
right.
appreciated.
All right. Good night, everyone.
This moves us on to item number 9 on the agenda, which you might recall was tabled from the last Finance Committee meeting. And the item reads as follows: authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract amendment between the city of Norwalk and Advanced Corp Network, Inc., DBA Digital Back Office, ACN, to authorize the addition of one new location at One Park Place, Norwalk, Connecticut. The parties agreed to the addition of 10 GIGE managed optimal Ethernet services at the following services location: Circuit 1, City Hall, 125 East Avenue, to One Park Place, with a monthly recurring fee of $1,536 paid for by the Board of Education from expense count as noted. Is there a motion on this item? Councilman Kaides moves the item. Councilman David Hooverman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to table this because I don't feel that we have the proper information to make a determination tonight. And I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't table it until we can get the proper information to the November meeting.
Thank you, Councilman Hooverman. Motion to table is not debatable. So therefore, I will call for a vote on the motion to table. All those in favor show by the, and motion to table to the November meeting?
Yes, that's correct. Table to the November meeting so that we can get the proper information.
Thank you. All those in favor show by, to motion to table to November, show by the sign of raising your hand. I see Tom Keegan, myself, Greg Burnett, David Hooverman, Nick Sachinelli, although John Kaides.
I think Diane just dropped off.
Yeah, Diane dropped off. You can lower your hands. All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions? Seeing none, so the motion to table has passed. Thank you. Moving on to item 10 on the agenda, which reads as follows. Resolution, approve a special capital appropriation in the amount of $650,000 to repair damage to the Rowayton Avenue Bridge over Keeler Brook and authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds or notes of the city in an amount not to exceed $650,000 to finance said capital appropriation, capital project as noted. Do we have a motion on this particular item? Councilman Hooverman, thank you. And we have on the committee meeting, Paul Slotnick, who is our senior civic engineer, to provide us background on this item. Paul?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. For the record, my name is Paul Sotnick. I'm a senior civil engineer with the Department of Public Works. And on July 9th, as a result of Tropical Storm Elsa, we ended up getting a phone call on July 14th that there was an issue with the road and a crack in the center line of the road. And I went out and took a look at that crack. And based on that, noticed that there was some issues going on. I took a look at the northwest corner of the stone arch masonry culvert and determined that there were issues with that where it had been washed out, and had asked Freeman Companies, who is our bridge inspection engineer, to come out and take a look at it. And I give them kudos because they came down. I called them at like 1 o'clock and they were down from Hartford by 3 o'clock to take a look at it. And based on that, we closed the road immediately in that area of Rowayton Avenue so that there wouldn't be traffic on it and have any kind of potential of the road failing into Keeler Brook. And based on that, we've gone through and what they've inspected and told us, it's a full failure of the Stone Arch culvert as a result of the storm and the high intensity, short duration rainfall, which caused the foundation to be washed or scoured out on that northwest corner. And as a result of that, we've now gone further and asked them to put together a proposal for what we would have to do to repair and fix it. And the recommendation is to install a new box culvert in this Keeler Brook. And as a result of that, we have to be careful with the permitting because we want to be able to open the road as soon as possible. And the new box culvert would basically emulate the existing hydraulic capacity and not let any more water through than is currently going through the culvert now. So there's no flooding downstream, and not retain any more water upstream. So we don't have any flooding upstream either. And in order to do this, we would basically have to go by several permitting agencies. And we've already gotten the approval of the Conservation Commission to install the box culvert. And at this point in time, we are working with the Connecticut DEP to set up a meeting on what appears to be November 1st to get the permit approved from them. And being that it is an emergency situation, we've already talked with Sharon Connors from purchasing to try and work with a bridge contractor that's a reputable contractor, Chimbrow Middlesex, and a large contractor that would have the ability to get a box culvert manufactured in a shorter period of time than we as the city or other contractors might have. And in doing so, we're hoping that we can repair this and get it installed if the permitting comes through and our request from the Finance Committee of the council is approved for the money, get this installed to repair the culvert and open Rowayton Avenue within hopefully the end of January or February, rather than having to go through a long permitting process that could take a year or so if we were to try and do other things with the culvert. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And I can get into more detail, but I tried to do it at a high level rather than going into the real micro engineering end of it.
Are there any questions on this item? And Councilmember Keegan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not really for Paul. I'm fully supportive of the project, more to Henry. This is the best way to pay for this, Henry?
Yes, it's a capital item, $650,000. And normally we have a full year process where we vet everything. This is an emergency. It's obvious we need it. Sharon, in charge of procurement, understands priorities, making sure that we're going with a vendor who could do this quickly and reputably. So I think everyone's trying to expedite, and we will just add it as another approved project for which ultimately we will do bonding. We have enough cash from prior bonds to be able to pay this promptly, and we'll supplement that the next time we go out to markets next summer.
Thank you, Henry.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions related to this item? Yes, Councilman Hoofman.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Burnett. Paul, just a quick question. You mentioned what's the life on this, the fix?
75 years approximately. It will be a precast concrete box culvert. And in picking what we're doing, we're trying to keep with the aesthetics of the neighborhood and area. We'll have the retaining walls and head walls for the bridge, basically have a what they call a form liner to make it look like a stone veneer, to make it look like it looks now with the masonry culvert end of it. And then also, we're probably not going to have to put any kind of a guide rail in because the area will be far enough off the road. But if we did, we'd use a wood guide rail to try and basically keep it, the aesthetics is close to what's out there today as possible. But it's 75-year lifespan is what we would get out of a box culvert like that.
Is this type of a box culvert, is this actually stronger when we look at storm situations similar to Elsa?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons we chose this, is because this box culvert would have a bottom on it. And in putting a bottom on it, we do have to make it a little deeper so that we can keep conservation as well as Connecticut DEP fisheries satisfied that there will be low flow for the fish to spawn and things like that when we do have low flow. But that bottom will prevent us from having to put deeper footings in on each side. So if you did a 3-sided culvert with no bottom, you'd end up having to dig footings a lot deeper on both sides all the way down, which would be more expensive. And it would also cause more of a disturbance to the brook. And then the thing is to get them deep enough so that you wouldn't have the scour happen again. The scour hole out there was approximately 4 feet deep. It was 10 feet into the culvert in the entire width of the 12-foot culvert, which is what caused the failure of the foundation.
If everything goes, if we find someone who's able to manufacture this box culvert to spec quickly, perfect case scenario, when is the bridge and the roadway back to operational?
If we can get the permitting from DEP and Army Corps, which are lower level permits, because we're not making a bigger bridge, putting more fill over it. We're emulating the existing hydraulic capacity. And that's one of the reasons we're doing that, is to cut the permitting time down from what might be a year or 18 months to what could be a month. So if we can get the permitting in a month, get this contractor that we're working with, Chimbro Middlesex, has a lot of big contacts with the manufacturing companies. So if we can get it manufactured, say within a month or so too, and then another month or so to do the work, would probably be, the goal would be the end of January, February to be able to open the road again versus having to wait a lot longer to do it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the information. I appreciate also the work that you've done on this. I know it's, having to close a road is not an easy thing.
No, but we did it that day. And when I saw the situation out there and saw what had been scoured on that northwest corner of the foundation that supports the arch of a bridge out, there was no question the road had to be closed immediately.
Thank you.
Public safety.
Paul, one question I had, the council received a high-level update of the ARPA funds that the city received, and several infrastructure activities will be taking place across the city. I was just curious if, once we do this work, is there any work in the area that might undo the work that we're planning to do here, or somehow intersect it? I know a lot of it hasn't been planned out yet, but I'm just trying to think ahead that we do this work to repair this emergency situation, but if there's any other structural work that might come along related to this particular area.
Not that I'm aware of. And if there was anything else that would have to be done, say for flooding downstream, it wouldn't affect the bridge. In this case, if we were to make the bridge bigger, we would have to do those projects downstream. We would have absolutely no choice. And then the permitting to do that could take a year to 18 months. But to answer your question, I'm not aware of any other projects that would be going on out here that would affect the money that we would invest in this box culvert that would require it to be taken out. And we are being very careful about that, because we do have a couple of other bridge projects that we're looking at for these less than 20-foot spans, one of them over on Bonnybrook Road. And we're looking at what was going to be a repair possibly to whether now we might have to do some other kind of upgrade, so that we're very cautious in making sure that we're not wasting money by doing one thing and then finding out that we've got to do something else. So we are aware of that, and it is on the radar, and we're trying to make sure that we don't waste money. But in this case, to answer your question, I'm not aware of any other project that would come along that would change this culvert.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments related to this item? Okay, hearing seeing none. All those in favor of this resolution, show by a sign of aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
John Cardy says aye. Thank you. All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Item number 9, adjournment, motion to adjourn. Hands went up too quick. Councilman Keegan, thank you. All those in favor, show by the sign of aye, raising a hand. Yes. All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions? Seeing none, it's unanimous. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned, and have a great rest of the evening.
All
Night,
right.
you.
everyone. Paul,
Thanks,
Henry,
everyone.
thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.